Now.
I don't believe you until I hear the music. There it is.
And we're back.
Yo.
A bit later than usual. Hey, Rob's back. Good. You missed the intro song, Rob.
Was that any good?
Yeah. Same as last time, yeah.
All right. Just making sure.
Yeah, so we're actually we did it, guys. Everybody out there we're 20 minutes late, but you know, sometimes things don't go perfectly as planned.
Some things are worth waiting for.
That's what I say, you know. It's not bad it's not bad for a last second show.
That's true. Yeah, we were gonna have Cobra on tonight, but I don't know what happened to him. He fell off the face of the earth. So then I was like, let's find some people that are kick-ass to make up for it. And we couldn't get them, so we decided to use you guys.
Oh!
True that.
That's how it's gonna start.
All right, bye, John.
So what's up, fellas?
No.
Not much, man. Just chilling.
Yeah, same here.
I'm sharing
Doing the
this
hiding in
live
the basement.
everywhere. So, all right. So, number one topic that people are already asking about on here is the ranking system. We were just talking about this. What are you guys' thoughts about the WL ranking system? Why don't you go first, Rob?
I think it's got a ton of holes in it out of the gates, and I think that a lot of people are complaining about where they're sitting, and I think it's very valid because, you know, you're talking the finals and everything runs in only, what are we, 8, 9, 10 months, I don't know how long it is out from finals, and when you can get a ticket to the finals based on your ranking, I think people who aren't put where they're supposed to be put, it hurts people, or with talks of potential sponsors, it hurts people. And I think it could be a good system if everyone was in place where they were supposed to be from the start. I mean, we got decades of collected data of puller against puller. I think we should have a ranking where people are where they're supposed to be per consensus, and then we can use a system from there. But, you know, like Ryan Bowen saying, oh, it takes, 5 years and it'll plane out. Well, what the fuck do we need that for? We've been polling the last 10, 15 years, some of us, with all the data in the world, and I don't need to see a guy that I've beaten my whole career 5 spots ahead of me, and vice versa, a guy I know that should be way up at the top of the ranks being like number 15. Mm-hmm. So we should use our collected data to make a ranking, and then maybe once it's fairly accurate and fairly agreeable, then let the numbers jive from there, because I don't know where they got some of these numbers. I see some people that are up high that are like, where did you come from? And then dudes that are total ass kickers that are not even like considered. So I think they're off. I think their intentions are good with having a little science and math, but like some things, just you can't have just all mathematical equations. It doesn't always add up. Mm-hmm. So right now, I think it definitely needs to be some adjustments when there's guys who never lost to other guys, placed higher than them in every tournament for every WL event, but they're behind them somehow. I mean, it's flawed for sure, but the intention's good, but intentions aren't worth shit in my book.
What do you think, John?
Yeah, I mean, following from what Rob said, I mean, I feel like we're not in the now. I mean, we're working on the then. I mean, a lot of those rankings, I mean, a lot of the people that look really good on the rankings did good 3 years ago, not past 5 months. Mm-hmm. And I mean, as you know, rankings change. People get stronger in 3 months' time, and they might beat a top guy, but they're still sitting on the bottom, under the top 10. I mean, there's a guy in the top 10 left-handed that I kind of ran over him, and he looks really good. He's like trailing like Chris Chandler. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. I mean, I can't change it, but yeah, I don't agree with it.
Yeah, you get guys out there saying like you'll get Scott Warren and some of the people are making a lot of posts saying, don't cry, go back to work. There's been random posts on Facebook, but when there's a flawed system out there, you've got to address it, and that's in every endeavor in life. That's in work. That's anything. You've got to be able to address if there's a flawed system if you want improvement. So, I mean, how else are you going to figure out how to improve? Be it straps, be it table design. I mean, we used to be back in cups and straight across pads.
Sure.
Was it people crying that they lost the match because the pads were straight across? Did they get their arm broken because the pads were like that, or were they in bad position? Sometimes you need to step back and look at the system to realize maybe it's flawed a little bit. And yeah, it's in its infancy. It's brand new. But if we can spot things right out of the gates and go, pump the brakes, let us help you with this as people who had collective data for, forever since before WAL got running, then let us do that. And then there's just holes in their theories of, well, you need longevity in, your WAL matches because you can't rise to the top, which is why Tony Kotowski's not at the top. Yet Nicholas Nenestad comes in and has one good event and he's at the top. And then on the flip side, you get a guy like, Devin has a perfect score, but Devin's got 3 years of collective data where, he took like 4th place right-handed last year and lost to Marcio the year before. So if all the collective data was really as they say it was, his score wouldn't be quite as high. You see? So it's almost like there's a lot of holes in it. Like every theory that they throw at you, you can find examples that are like why it's kind of crooked. So maybe it's lack of their intel or whatever, but I think they should open themselves up to, especially if it's going to come down to prize monies, placings, invites, not having to chase tournaments around the country. I think it's detrimental that they get it right from the start and then let the program take over.
Do you think it's difficult to make real accurate rankings out of tournaments?
I think tournaments are a horrible dictator for who the best guy in the room is unless you get one glaring ass kicker in the room, which is why at state championships you'll see the same guy win every time. Right. But at that level, you're going to have at least 1, 2, 3 guys contesting. Tournaments are tough. They're terrible. I mean, I think there's a few guys who slid in based on brackets. But if you are going to go off brackets, I mean, rankings aren't that tough if you can get an unbiased, realistic person who's not worried about offending his training partners. If you can get a real person who can look at the real situations, I think Eric Rusin did a fantastic job with the rankings because he would look at things a little situationally. Arm wrestling's very unique. It's not tennis. It's not golf. It's not ping pong. It's fucking arm wrestling, and it takes a different toll on your body round to round. The only thing that arm wrestling can really be compared to damage-wise is if they tournament bracketed fighting. One guy goes in and gets a flash knockout. The next guy goes in and fights 5 rounds. Guess what? They meet the second round. You're not getting – this guy's not the same fighter as he would have been, and this guy's walking in fresh. Right. Any other sport, tennis, is not the same sport. Golf is not the same sport when you do rounded, tournament bracket type. Anything pool, how the fuck are you going to compare pool and point systems to arm wrestling in a point system? Right. You just can't do it. So I get what the intention is, but tournament brackets are a serious bitch for the sport. I've said that, like, the one-on-one format's the best way to find who the best is. I think they should have a 52-week series that takes number 10 and number 11 that are in contest that think they're there, that should be up. They should pull each other in a super match, and the winner moves on to go up and climbs the ladder, like old video game style shit, like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Like, you just go until you meet the king shit. People vote on who those guys are, and everybody kind of rounds off, and at the end of a year, you have people rounded off, figured out where they are. Right. But at least you get a match in between instead of doing, 30 matches in a weekend.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's a video that got put up on the PAL site where they showed Devin Larratt and Michael Todd practice polling, and Michael was beating him, right? And it's like everybody's going.
Let me do this. Not Michael, the other guy too. That's now just came from Neptune. They dropped in and killed him. Now that might be a strong dude, but people see what they want to see, and it's such horse shit. Right. And I remember being at a tournament, the Rule of the Nation years back when Roman Sindiliani. Exactly. Yeah, he's a strong kid at 160 pounds, 170 pounds. He rolled in and crushed me, Ron Bath, and Travis back to back, and almost, 3-minute war with John Brzenk. And I was talking back to back to back while the guy was puffing on a cigar with his freshly gelled, greased up hair, whatever he had. Yeah. I don't know. But the guy rolled in while we were pulling for 4 hours, and then he rolled in and smashed the shit out of everybody. Sure. And that was like a big YouTube video going, wow, freak of the world, look at what Russia can bring. It's like you got to take things with a grain of salt here.
Right. They showed a 30-second clip on the internet after 4 hours of training. Like, you can't.
And if anybody knows Devin, like I've said, there's a few things I've said about Devin. He's the most non-pinning puller I've trained with. Mm-hmm. He's not really. He likes to work. He likes to grind center table. He likes to grind angles.
Right.
Right. If he feels he can hurt you, or pound you, he'll lay back. He's comfortable being in defensive position, letting you work, and he's also the guy that never gets off the table. Right. So if he's there for 4 hours, chances are he's been pulling for a minimum 3 hours 59 minutes, and that's provided that he had to piss somewhere along that line. So and there's, you got to think these dudes are out there probably playing Predator. It's Devin Larratt. The YouTube's rolling. They're shaking out their arm. They're going back. They're waiting for an hour while he gets crushed. Drinking their creatine drinks and sniffing ammonia. Then they get to the table and somebody pops a video up there. Get the fuck out of here with that, man. Like, right. I don't buy that bullshit. Those are the same guys that buy a ticket, pony up everything, and go to WAL and get bumped 2 and out, and they're shell-shocked. Shell-shocked. I mean, Michael Todd, he's been on top for a period of time, but still, in the fashion he was doing it in, I can't be made to believe that he could do that flat-wristed without getting his wrist cracked majorly.
Well, the thing is, too, I'm watching that video, I'm seeing these comments that are coming through, like, oh my God, what happened? And I'm thinking, like, the last person who's thinking that shit, though, is Michael. He doesn't feel that way. He's just a guy who was in a situation where you got to pull Devin. They just trained together for a little while.
Michael's been a top guy, but the hilarity is every fucking arm wrestler can rationalize it when it happens to them, right? You go to a practice and a dude been pulling, and you go to grab him, and his hand feels like noodle, and he's like, oh, man, I just got done pulling for 10 minutes, right? They want to make every excuse why they lost. They want to make every excuse why they feel weak. But for some reason, when it comes to somebody that they beat in practice, has been practicing all day, or somebody that they beat, they don't want to give that guy the nod that he's tired. They want to be like, I was crushing this dude in practice all day. He felt like a bitch. They want to hang on to that. They just want to be like, I was crushing Dave Chafee. Dave Chafee's so weak. I'm going to Poland. It's like, how the fuck can you see it in yourself, but you can't see it in everybody else that it's skewed?
Come on. Now. The last time you came to Fitzy's RVJ, after you had been arm wrestling for 2 hours and everybody was beating you, I still hear stories from those guys about how they beat RVJ.
Dude, I pinned RVJ in a hook at Frank Hurst's house.
Buddy, I lose to everybody. At the end of the day, that's my goal. If I lose, it's like doing negatives or forced reps, right? They say you go till you can't do it, and it's like doing drop sets. So I start off at the Jerry Catarettes, and then I degrade to the mid-range guys and the low-range guys, and by the end, Valerie Beach is flashing me. That's perfect. That's what I call a good workout.
All right, John, what do you think about all this? We're going to get Cervantes in here. I mean, he's just laughing at you in the background like the rest of us, but I know you have some thoughts, John.
No, I agree 100%, man. I'm just laughing at Rob.
Many fake legends were made through the practice table.
I'm the same way. I train everything from here. I let everybody take everything, and then I try to work through it. So I'm the same way. It's like take everything. I want to feel you. I want to feel my weakest spot, and I want to work through it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Every time there's a video like that, no matter what kind of caveat the person who puts it up adds, there's still a whole bunch of people that flip out about it.
It's ridiculous.
And it kind of makes you wonder about, how knowledgeable the average people that are watching these videos are, and how often they actually train.
It's a very amateuristic viewpoint, in my opinion.
Well, that's what it is. It's ego-driven viewpoint too. Like, people want something so bad that they can't get past, that they just leap over rationale, right? This is a guy that crushes them, that gives them everything on the grip, that's been pulling for 6 hours, that's done everything he could to handicap a goddamn match, and they want to be that person that's in there so bad that they look past all rationale of ability and reality, that if they pin that person once, they go back and tell everyone they knew how bad they were throwing around. Devin Larratt, Dave Chafee, Jerry Cataret, insert any name, John Brzenk, any name you want. And now go to a tournament and do it, be close even, and then say, see, I knew it, like I was there, like practice was adding up. But, when you're showing me, I wasn't there the whole day, but a 30-second snippet, if I know Devin, and I know what's up with how he pulls, a 30-second snippet means nothing. I'd have to see from when they both rolled into the parking lot I'd have to know what they did the week before this. I'd have to know where they were. Like, I need to give them a CT scan of like their injuries and their life, and like I'd have to know everything. It'd have to be an event that mattered for me to really give a fuck. Like, I didn't put any weight in that. I mean, sometimes I get fucked up over practice, so I'm getting tossed around, but that's just it. Like, I'll get tossed around in practice, but I tear through the guys who do that to me when it comes tournament time.
Well, the thing is too, like, because you might get frustrated at practice getting thrown around because you knew what you walked in as. Like, we can't see that in a 30-second clip on the internet, but because you live with yourself.
Exactly. I mean, precisely. It's everybody walks around and they want to assume that they got the best version of you, the primal, because they want to hold on to that win so tight. And it's a practice win. I mean, back when I first started, sure, I was going. Every pin was worth something. But now you go hard to the point where you get pinned. It's like those negatives. I always said the weakest guy in a training group has the biggest advantage. He grows the most because he's forced to always have the best angles. The weakest guy is always getting those hard negatives. He can fire. He can hit. He can get, like, a guy. I always said, like, I think Corey Miller was fantastic because he started off not being a super strong human being, and he had to learn all the angles and everything perfect to get the advantages.
Right.
So when he learned how to when he got strong, he became superstar because he
knew how to
already
wrestle.
had all the things. Guys who start off strong are fucking lugheads because they win, but it's usually ugly. So they're stretched out. I started off strong and I was an ugly arm wrestler. I'm still probably not. I'm not polished like Corey Miller. So it's like you get used to winning, and because you win, your brain tells you like that works or something, and you don't want to change it. And guys who start off needing every angle and every advantage, and then they get strong, those are the ones that fuck you up.
100%.
You were like that, John. I don't think you were monster strong when you started, but you had a good grasp of the game.
I had a strong base, but I mean, it took a while to realize that I was going.
Fuck you, not you, John Brown.
There's too many. Yeah, I
you were strong. John,
Cervantes, you were strong as shit. You had a great press. I remember that when you first came in, but
yeah.
I'm gonna call you. I gotta
just use my last name.
Confirm who I'm talking to. Yeah, Brown.
Yeah,
we both got beards.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I didn't I had no power coming in. I just learned how to use my hand and use angles, and then I slowly built up that power, just getting ripped open for 7 years.
Yeah, but then once you got that power, you had those angles that even higher tier pullers don't really exploit because they never look at the game that in depth. But when you're not on a power level, you have to step up your technical game. Right. But when your technical game is on another level, then your power catches up. Now it's like this all of a sudden again. It goes poop.
Yep.
So that's kind of where it goes with the technical application. If power is equal, the more technical guy will win. I say technique only is valid when power is kind of equal, but the weaker guy always can apply all the bullshit because everybody kind of sits there and is like practice dummy for him. The strongest guy in practice just kind of sits there and holds people. Like, he might even like be trained to be in bad positions because he just kind of negatively holds and becomes a defensive puller.
What do you think, John? Cervantes.
I think you got to go and get yourself a band. Everything I do now, it's like I never really know where I am strength wise. So I'll grab people now and I use a band to kind of supplement, the training partners.
Sure.
And it puts me in a really, really bad position, and I try to pull through it.
Mm-hmm.
See, you try to pull from bad positions like a rookie.
If I can put 80 pounds, you know what I mean, and they're open in my hand at the same time. It's now I got a Tim Bresnan.
Yeah. Are you happy at the heavier weight, John? Do you think you're going to stay there, or do you think you'll be back in the 198s at some point?
No, I mean, that's
198. Oh. Yeah, he's not going to 198.
Oh, here we go. Let me answer the question.
He's got to cut the 220.
That's true.
Oh, really? have another beer. No, nothing really matters to me other than 195 WAL. Okay. That's my goal. Mm-hmm. Everything else in between is like right now I just want table time.
Right.
Table time. I've been in the gym. So anything between here and WAL, it's like whatever, you know. If I can make it to a tournament, I can make it, but I want to make sure I'm on the table twice a week and in the gym at least 5 days a week.
Were you surprised at how well you did in the 225 class?
I wasn't. I told him he would. I convinced him to go. I wasn't surprised at all. He actually, based on his draws and a few people that tiptoed in, could have placed better. I wasn't surprised. I had a lot of conversation with him and convinced him to go. He took a lot of convincing, but I knew he was there.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Northeast guys do. You know, I don't think it's a secret for us, to be honest.
No, but on the you're talking that's kind of international, right? Mexico, Europe, whatever. Not many people know who John is.
Absolutely.
Cervantes.
They know it's a Spanish name, but other than that.
All right, we got a million. John, good. You finish, and then I want to ask some of these questions. People are piling up.
Yeah. No, I was just saying I walked in and I was trying to gain weight, and I realized I was probably like 20 pounds lighter than a lot of the guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's how that goes, right?
Other than the 24-hour weigh-ins, I think they should weigh in like an hour before you pull.
I love that idea.
They weren't pulling this. I wasn't pulling the same guys I stood next to weighing in on the scales.
Oh hell no!
Fuck no!
Hell no!
That would be a game changer just in itself. That would change the whole playing field.
Unbelievable.
If it was same day weigh-ins, and it would cut down some of the liability. Because I imagine that as prize money goes up, guys are going to be pushing their limits harder to get into what they perceive to be an easier weight class, and you're going to see people losing 30+ pounds, and it's only a matter of time before you have something tragic happen. I mean, I believe that it's happened in UFC. For people losing similar weight to what we're already losing in arm wrestling.
Yep.
So if you up the ante on that and you get more people, all you're doing is upping the odds that something's going to happen. And not even that. I mean, it's a horrible representation of the sport to walk around and say you're the 165-pound champion. I'm the 165-pound champion, but really every day of your life you're 190 pounds. It's really not for the average guy who comes up to you and might be curious about the sport and want to know something. And you're a 200-pound dude, but you're like telling him you're the 165-pound champ. So your strength level, your physicality level, and everything is so daunting in not even a reality of what 165 is. I want the guy that's like, Cobra Rhodes, who's just a freak that's 6 foot plus, long, big, and everything for 165 pounds. Right. And the dude's like that. I don't want the dude who dieted down from 200 pounds, almost had organ failure, barely made it for over the course of a week, and now he's a 165-pound champion. That doesn't do it for me.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I think John's idea, Cervantes' idea of doing the day of or like an hour before weigh-in is where things should move. I know they do that in some wrestling tournaments, particularly in the Olympics, where you can't gain back more than 2% of your body weight from the initial weigh-in.
And that's fantastic.
Because then I totally agree. It's much safer for people, and then you'll be arm wrestling at your natural weight, which is what we should be doing anyway.
Right, it's your natural. Like if I say to you, like, hey, I'm a 200-pound guy, like, let's pull, and you go, well, yeah, I won the 200-pound championships last year, but I'm 240 right now. Right. It's like, for some guys that don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Then I think it kind of validates the rankings. You can kind of hold something to it. It's like right now, it's like, where was that guy? He was 210 that day, and then he was 242 the next day. It's like.
Do you guys think that? Right. Do you guys think it would make it better if you had to qualify in your weight class at the qualifier? Because like for a while, it's been you can qualify anywhere you want and pull.
Absolutely, I think that's easy way out to do that. You let guys get heavy all year, do what they want all year. I think you should have to consistently. When you pull a tournament, like that's what you're ranked at. That's where you're at. Like you shouldn't be able to be 242 the whole year and then dip into 198 because you had a flash, took some diuretics and bled out for the day and now you're 30 pounds lighter.
It is dangerous.
I think you should be able to be 250 all year long, but I want you to be 195 an hour before I pull you.
Yeah,
right.
Well, I think that's fair.
Because then it's like, okay, we're on a level playing field.
Yeah, I would like that because I can make 165 tomorrow. Like, just no trouble at all. I can make 165 and pull the same day with the same result because I'm 170 pounds.
No, I don't care if they even change the weight classes to be against me. They could go to a 185 weight class where I'd have to cut to, or a 215-pound weight class where I could eat cheeseburgers and pizza all day. But whatever it is, just make it consistent.
That sounds
better. and same day weigh-ins. Right, that sounds better. But make it just same day weigh-ins. That way, I don't care if I fall in the middle of the pack. I'm not a person that stresses about 5-10 pounds or whatever. Just make it consistent. But the 3 day ahead of time weigh-ins, not only does it's a tremendous strain on people's schedules, travelings, and monetarily. Now when you add an extra 2 days in a hotel, extra 2 days away,
Food.
extra 2 days of eating and everything, you're down almost a G before you even compete. So if you don't take top 3, you're at a loss. Whereas some people could roll in morning of, just snap their shoes and pants off, weigh in, go to bat. You're cutting down your travel time in half. And until the sport gets really big money, and it's unfortunate, you can't really justify being gone on the regular for regionals, for this, for that, for the finals, for 5 days, because weigh-ins are 2 days beforehand, but you wanted to be there the day beforehand to get acclimated after the flight and get your room all set up with your fucking Pedialyte and the guys who are doing IVs and diuretics and shit, taking Epsom salts so they shit. I mean, who needs that? Who needs that? Show up in the morning, everyone roll up, weigh, pull, then stay the day after or two if you feel like having fun. But all that other bullshit is unnecessary, and the money, it's an expense that sometimes you can't justify.
Interestingly, to go along with that point you just made, Rob, is that some people have been saying that the WAL is taking a lot of steam away from the local tournament scene because people are less likely to go compete in smaller tournaments because they don't want to get injured, they don't want to have to cut weight and all that stuff. They know they're going to show up and pull. And because, local tournaments tend to have much smaller money prizes if they have them at all, the allure is also reduced. If that's true, it actually is a pretty significant negative because it's going to stifle the growth of the sport if the only tournaments that people are really focused on are regionals and finals.
100%. I 100% agree that that's what's kind of going on. It's sad because local arm wrestling is getting crushed because all the people that are involved in it are so focused on an event that happens pretty much once a year. And when I got in the sport, there was a tournament every 3 weeks, and they all did well.
Yep.
They all created opportunity for people to try to climb a ladder, to try to find where they were, to try to train. You could skip 1 or 2 events and hit one in 2 months, but it was like there was a monthly tournament within a very short driving proximity. And now you don't see that anymore because people are so, when people do hit a status of being like a WAL star, they don't want to go to a local place and lose to Ron Klemba, who wasn't at WAL, or he's been at a couple of them, but somebody like Ron Klemba will say. They don't want to lose to somebody that's not on the radar, like an Orrin Hubbard. Nobody knows who that cat is, right? But he's going to tear up people's lives, but they don't know who he is. So they don't want to lose to somebody. They don't want to put themselves at risk. So all they're doing is, like, once July hits and WAL's over, they, like, hibernate for the year. And also, too, is, like, because of the WAL with the prize money, it's upped, God forbid, I'm going to say it, how many people are going to tune out right now? It's up to people doing the juice, right? So they're playing their cycles, but they're playing their cycles too. So they don't want to show up at events that are they're off and look like assholes. So a lot of guys you'll see will hibernate and they'll come out at very choice times, like maybe twice a year before the WAL, and that's it. They might qualify and then they might go to a regional, but like you'll see people just totally dip off the fucking radar. And don't make me call motherfuckers out because I'll start listing names.
I think the show's already enough fun without having people come over to shoot at us too. So.
Right. We're in the basement right now.
Drug testing, WAL.
Yeah.
No, it's great what it's doing, no doubt about it. But unfortunately, that's kind of what happens is there's no middleman anymore. It's like they're a big corporation, and for some reason, like people don't want to get out there and compete. And
that's a shame.
I think it has crushed some of the small tournaments, and some of the small tournaments I enjoy every bit as much, if not better, because the anxiety and the TV and some of the things that change the landscape of it. You get a more pure form of the sport at some of the events. New England arm wrestling has been a mecca of arm wrestling since the golden since
Al Turner.
The beginning, Al Turner, right?
Yeah.
Since Al Turner was the man, he was the John Brzenk of his era. So since him, and maybe even before, there's maybe history we don't even know of, but it's always been kind of like a stronghold of arm wrestling, and we've had some fantastic tournaments. And when you take the television away from it, and the fake shit, and the bias and stuff, and it's just good old, who's who, that's what got me into it. And I like that. I miss that. Honestly, I wasn't planning on competing at all this year. I was going to just kind of like dip off the radar like other people do, just because of a lot of frustrations. But with Josh's event coming up, fantastic event I had last year. Pete's trying to get back in the game. I told him I'd help him support that. 2 fantastic dynamic events right there both of them within an hour and a half drive of me. How could I say no? You can't wish for something, then when it falls in your lap, you got 15 excuses why you can't do it.
Yeah,
I hate people like that.
I agree, and it is frustrating. I know I've spoken to quite a few promoters about it. They have the same. I mean, I think if WAL released control of the local events to the individual promoters, and just you could be affiliated with WAL, and they sent you a poster or whatever, but they were not involved other than that. And so instead of doing the regular 3 or 4 tournaments we do, and then having to do 2 or 3 WAL ones, which waters everything down, just have WAL affiliate in a more loose fashion with more events. So then
you should be just like WAL affiliated and throw bang up events under there. You could be under their name, like WAL's doing, like back in the day, Battle at the Beach, Battle at Loon Mountain, Battle at the Casino, fucking whatever the fuck you want to do. But it should be, the more you pump it, the more people are. And if I know I don't have a year, but in some ways I think it hurts. For me, at least, it hurts the competition level, because I look and see like there's nothing big on the docket for almost a year. Guess what happens? My life goes to like 50 other directions other than training and thought process. Yeah. But if I know I got something that could be big, I could get a redemption at Todd Hutchins, or I could bump into Craig Toulier, who I never got to pull, and it's in 3 months. It's going to keep you on that horse. It's going to keep you concurrent. But when you're looking a year out, that people are so short-sighted that seems like infinity, and I fall into that all the time.
Well, and it's not like
let me ask you some questions in there.
And it's not like you're getting a weekly salary for waiting that year.
You're not.
I mean,
exactly. It's turned us into career arm wrestlers without the justification for it being a career.
Right.
Right.
All right. Here comes some questions. Because these guys are literally going to start shooting at us if we don't ask them. There's like 100 questions they're going to ask you guys. So
the fans will eat us.
Yeah. First of all, Alexander, if you want to try the new straps that you're asking about, come to New England's, because we're going to be using them there. So
you are using them.
You can show up and try them out. Now, a question for both of you guys, John, Cervantes. I want you to answer this first, because we got 2 different people talking about the rankings that we touched on earlier. Basically, Ryan from Australia and Yuri, who's in Vegas, saying that similar to the tennis system, which the idea is that it benefits the people who compete the most, and that over time your win-loss ratio will even out with the actual position of each arm wrestler, and that the point of it is to reward people that compete the most frequently rather than people that only show up a couple times a year, and that once the system gets rolling, like they've been saying, in a year or 2, that will start to be noticed, and it'll become more obvious what the value of it is. So what do you think, Mr. Cervantes?
You still there, John?
I see him. He's frozen. Did you hear the question?
I lost. I heard tennis.
All right, so I'll jump in.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, Rob, and then he can pick up after you.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic angle, and I think it's a fantastic way to boost people and push them. And when you get a big leagues, and rankings are going to eventually matter, and status, and the giant that WAL is, rankings are now everyone's got a place where before it was all speculation. I think that's fantastic to get people out there and competing. And I think that how it will generate and count your wins, losses, I'm sure there's some things that need to be fine-tuned, but I think it's probably a great system as long as they get a good starting point. It's like when they do stock car driving. They get somebody that plays pole position, and based on your times and your ability, like in the pre-races, like your hottest laps, they give you a position from anything from pole position back, right? So that changes like who the favorite guys are coming in. Mm-hmm. You can't have a guy that's ranked number 18th trying to climb the ranks that really belongs as number 3. You've got to, and it's not that's not an exaggeration. There's really some glaring all through all classes, both hands, like, wait a minute, what the fuck? But what he's saying is great. Now, on the flip side, I don't want someone just getting awarded because they're a 20-year-old kid that has no family, that has no life, and he hits a tournament every single month of his life for the next 2 years and climbs over somebody that's trying their damnedest and hitting 4 tournaments and smashing it, but just for sheer competing more, they're like powering it out. You know what I mean? Just because they're staying so fucking active, they're there. So there has to be limitations to it. I think it's great to get people out there. Great system, but it definitely needs a more refined, consensus-driven starting point.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think it needs to be. It's not as accurate as I would like it to be. I think it needs to be more current. Like if you want to just take, it's from the regionals to the championships. But what happened 2 years ago? I mean, who is that guy now?
Yeah.
How strong? All those points that he had, it should only be for that 1 year. It should be year to year.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna have a regionals, if you're gonna have a championship, and then this guy doesn't even pull this year's championship, but he's still ahead of the guy that like crushed everybody this year, and he never even pulled in 16. So I kind of see what he's saying.
You could do things like they do in video games, right? Like if you don't lose a match for 2 years straight, you could be on like bonus points at that point in time, like throwing 10-point layups every time you win a match. So it's like until you lose.
That's like when I played Diddy Kong Racing on N64.
How many laps? Perfect.
Exactly. Well, like somebody just pointed out that John Brzezink's not even on the rankings, and he won 2015, so shouldn't he be on there somewhere?
Right. Marcio's not even on the rankings, either hand, I don't think, or left hand or something. But, these people, just because they weren't at a event, do exist. And while we're talking about an event, it's a post I brought up on Facebook. The final is bigger because it's got bigger money, it's got the hammers, it's cool. But in sense, it's just an event. It's still a double elimination event. It's still a group of dudes who are still doing the same exact thing. We're arm wrestling. The rules don't change. So in essence, if Tony Katowski shows up to his local Rib Fest event and gets smashed by, I don't know, we'll say Paul Talbot, because they're comparable skill sets.
Sure.
That should have the same weight as him beating Paul Talbot at the finals with the hammer. Because the only difference is the clout, the television, and the hammer. But it's the same exact sport, the same exact skill set, the same exact discipline, same exact rules, right? So if you beat, Randy Byers won regionals, and then, another guy won finals. But in essence, he's batting 50 for the tournament series. So, he's 50% for the tournament series. So, putting too much clout in the level of the tournament, it's just another event. It's another event. Same as state championships, the quality's higher. But when you start talking about you're making people go to a regionals or you take a loss at this event, but then you win a final, you got to look at it at the whole picture. You got to take off the titles. Because some ding-dong could come in here from New Hampshire and put down $1 million for an event because he wants to sponsor his car company. Does that? And I beat 3 guys that I've been beating my whole career. Does that make it a more valid tournament than WAL because it's more money? No, it's a tournament. I won that tournament with that group of guys. It's still double elimination. You either won the whole thing or lost once or lost twice, whatever it is. But it's just an event. You got to look at your record as a whole, like who beats who, how, in what fashion, and on the timeline.
Yeah, now you're kind of looking at the idea of like, are you an arm wrestler 12 months a year, or are you an arm wrestler for a couple events a year? Like, you should kind of be, if you're calling yourself an arm wrestler, you should kind of be able to go and fuck some shit up anytime at any given moment's notice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, and I tell you what, if you find a fucking rainbow, you should be able to follow it to the end and get a pot of gold. But that shit doesn't really exist anymore.
Right.
Because there's very few nowadays, without going into that rabbit hole, that are strong 365. Very few nowadays that are strong every day. And they'll give you a lot of bullshit reasons why, but that's a dead breed. Not many people are strong every day. They're strong 2 months out of the year.
It's the breed that I'm starting to miss, Rob. To be honest with you, because I like the idea of getting the phone call and being like, hey, 10 days, I need you here. And like, for an excitement, exciting thing, and not go, I don't know if am I trained up enough? Like, I'm trained all the time.
I think I will do the best.
No pressure, no thought. Yeah.
Yeah, just go. You're ready.
Tell me 3 days before I need to pull the guys. That way I didn't think about it.
Yeah, you
didn't go do biceps and forearms the morning of.
Yeah,
right.
the only thing I want different when it comes to something bigger is I just want a little more rest. I don't need any more training.
That's it. Because it's a tragedy. I picture these guys walking around that are like high level pullers, and they're good for a month, 2-3 months out of the year. And then they go meet some guy who might be a strong-ass dude that got in that's curious about arm wrestling, but he's not a good arm wrestler. But he might be real strong. Might be a strong cat, a strong man or something. But if you're a high-level arm wrestler, you guys know you should be able to beat that guy.
Yes.
But some of these guys, when they come down and they're on their little, 8-month hibernation or 10-month hibernation, a lot of these guys can lose to regular shitheads, and they make the rest of us look like we're shitheads. So it's like you should be able to be cat's ass all the time, everywhere you go, if you're high-level puller.
Yeah, it's
365 days a year.
Yeah, it's like I got the my philosophy with even just training is like if somebody wants to come to my house to pull, it don't matter what day. Like, come on over. Like, I can train any day of the week.
Right.
If you're coming to me, and I'm gonna say no,
right.
I pulled 3 days ago. Can't do it.
Right.
Like, fuck that. I'm an arm wrestler. That's what I do.
That's what I put out there for my open challenge match for 200 pounders. I said, show up my house. I'll put up $1,000. Weigh in. We pull. I don't care if you want to do best of 20. I would never duck somebody in that. I'm an arm wrestler. This is what I do. You want to show up? You want to pull? I don't give a fuck if Prudnik jumped out of this closet right here, right now, and was like, ta-da, with Igor. I'd be like, hold the presses, motherfuckers. I got work to do. And you know what? If I get smashed, that's the way it goes.
Right.
But you're going to have levels of being at your peak and not at your peak, but you should always be. You're going to battle injuries. You're going to battle life. But, you should be ready. You shouldn't be, there are people out there that disappear solely because they're like, hit the nosedive for 10 months.
On my worst day, I'm ready to compete. I'm ready to go on my worst day. This is what
on your worst day, you could pull.
Because if I can't, then I personally can't be like, I'm an arm wrestler. That's what I do. Well,
no.
You should be able to show up.
You're not even part-time at that rate.
So I guess I should have pulled the guy at the climbing gym today when he asked me then, John.
You should have let him use 2 hands.
Yeah, well, I told him after Worlds we did. All right, I got questions for both you guys. I promised Alex I was gonna ask his training question first, but I lied because I'm gonna ask one for Mr. Cervantes first instead. Sorry, Alex, but yours is coming, so be patient. All right, so a lot of people are asking this kind of stuff for you, John, because they're not as familiar with you. Question number 1 for you is, how often do you train for maximum gains, and how big of a part of your training regimen is heavy lifting?
All right. Well, I do heavy lifting twice a week. Mm-hmm. I do a lot of light rep stuff to get some blood in there, because pulling twice a week on the table can, it can cause a lot of inflammation, and as you know, it can kind of slow down your training in the gym. Mm-hmm. So I do a lot of light reps, but I do 2 days to kind of let me know I still feel pretty good. Yeah. And it kind of lets me know if I can get a good number. It's like, wow, I'm getting, I got 5 more pounds than I did 3 weeks ago. I'm getting a little stronger. So it's at least twice a week I do heavy.
So that's all right. What do you do? How often do you do that, Rob?
Heavy?
Yeah.
I pretty much always, when I train heavy. I try to go light, and then I find myself getting semi-aggressive through the sets, and then throwing more weight on. And even though my mind says it's a light day, I find myself going heavy, wanting to see where I can go, even if it's horrible for me. So basically when I train, it's always heavy. And it's as often as I can, which honestly is not as often as I'd like. Maybe 1 day a week, maybe bi-weekly. I don't know. I'm trying to be more active in the gym. I think it's a big part of arm wrestling, but I'm always a heavy guy, always.
So the question that was directed for you, Rob, was about Todd Hutchings. No big surprise there. You always get a Todd question whenever you come on.
Yeah.
And that is that this is from Alex, and he says that he thinks your hand is stronger than Todd's, but is not sure if your arm is. And what will you do training-wise now to get better in the strap and specifically train that weakness in your arm, if you agree that that's what it is?
No strap.
Yeah. From the analytical side of me, I'm always trying to get stronger. That's always an ace in the hole. So regardless of my assessment of my match with Todd, I'm always trying to get stronger.
Mhm.
I think there's no such thing as technique overriding just massive, ridiculous amounts of strength.
Mhm.
So I go strength, and then technically, the match that happened this year, I don't necessarily believe that it was a strength issue. I think where we happened to fall once the match had fired off, where he was kind of cinched over me and coiled on top of me, where he had his shoulder and his wrist, and a lot of his body angles were perfect, and I was kind of stretched out on my arm in a kind of a compromised situation. I don't think that I could have won that match from where I was if I was a lot stronger than Todd, because he's very polished from there. Strength might not have been the issue. I mean, if we were to go center table, shoulder to shoulder, bicep to bicep, stuff like that, practice pulling, if you say, I feel that I've got as much torque as him. I even feel that there's areas that I'm not as I might be stronger than him. I know he's had bicep injuries. I think I could exploit those. But I don't think it's a strength thing. I think it's maybe a confidence thing. I get in there and I know that he's supposed to be this side pressure beast, and things in my head tell me to run away from it. And it's application. It's like there are people out there who have great hands and they don't use them right. And I think in my situation, I have a better arm than I give myself credit for. And when I get tense, I go back to old habits of backing away. And when you back away in a strap and you get sucked under,
It's over.
and you're on a bicep and someone's laying on you, it can make you look a lot weaker than somebody when really it's a positional thing. So though I was a little bit down and bummed out about that match, I don't think it was sheerly overpowered. I think a really smart student of the game could look at it and know that it's a position game. So I'm always trying to get stronger, but I'm more focused on trying to correct that initial mistake as opposed to being overpowered. I'm looking at the straps as my starts and my setups.
I think it's an interesting point that you made, because the earlier matches you appeared to beat him very easily, and again the position was completely different. And we've spoken about this a couple times in training, Rob. It's like the particular setup that he got in those two matches. I know it really frustrated you. And do you think that the WAL setup allows for more, I don't want to say unfair setups, but definitely for people who are more experienced in the straps to, manipulate the starts effectively?
Yeah. It's progressed, right? It's evolved. It started out, it was pitched as, open your hands, close your hands, go. Now you see guys like open your hands, okay, close your hands, and it's a lot of this. It's a lot of everything but what it's pitched as. And the guys who can play that game and walk that line the best, it's back to being he who can cheat. And if you've got close, you guys are all arm wrestlers, you guys all know. If you're even fairly evenly matched with somebody, but you let them climb over your hand a little bit, get their wrist bent a little bit, and then fire up on you first, it can look like a very lopsided match.
Yep.
But you got to think there's, like I've said before, I said the last time I was on the show, if the power was so mismatched, I wouldn't have even been able to secure those wins that I originally got. Because there have been guys that have flattened his hand and wrist out of the straps, and he just pounds sideways with them. He just pounds them.
Right.
So the power, I think, is there. I was upset with the starts. I was upset with the setups. I mean, I've accepted it, but I do think that there is a game to play with getting what you want, where I try to, maybe it's my mistake, I try to just go the honorable route. Like, maybe it's, people say, oh, well, of course you do it. You got a big hand. Of course you do it. You got a long arm for your class, blah, blah, blah. But I just try to kind of get up there, close my hand. And when you're with somebody that's doing anything but, they're a little bit, they're hitting, they're carving, they're jumping, it's kind of hard to play the honorable game, and if you do, you might not like the results, and hence that's kind of where I'm sitting, right? I'm kind of got to wait another year to see if I can rectify.
Yeah, and then really the fact is, like, speaking of, like, it's hard to be honorable. Actually, at a certain point, it's impossible. It just is, because, like, I mean,
it's not impossible if you're comfortable with going to the B side or being out of the event.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Which who the fuck gets on a plane to do that?
Right, exactly. But it actually is a mental conditioning to teach yourself to sit there and kind of like re-grip, take fouls. Like for me, that stuff stresses me the fuck out when somebody's like, "Don't move. Oh, you got a foul for moving." So in my mind, I'm like, don't fucking move.
Shit. Yeah, right.
So the next time somebody grabs over me, I'm kind of like, well, I don't want to move. As opposed to somebody like Travis will fuck that until the sun goes down. He'll just play that game for 35 minutes straight.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Where me, like, I got a stress level that's kind of like just take it. And sometimes what I end up taking the second time around is far worse than what I got fouled for not taking in the first round.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's one of those. It's a psychological thing, kind of like learning that stress, I guess.
Oops. I was just about to ask John a question. It looks like we lost him. See if we can get him back. Well, let me ask the question I was going to ask him to you. Other than, obviously, you and John have awesome matches and a great rivalry. So aside from him facing you, who would you like to see John go up against the most in the 195 class? I mean, who do you think he'd be a good chance of taking out? For example, how would he do against Todd, do you think?
No, I don't think he's ready for that. I would like to see him pull. I've said I'd like to see him pull Storm. I think the straps would be the deciding factor there. I've said for a long time I'd like to see John pull Ryan Clark. I think John has. Yeah, that's a good. I think John has better hand and more horsepower. But I think Ryan Clark is so much more of a gamer, where he shines in the spotlight. He's used to the big tournaments. He's good everywhere. He can hook, press, top roll. He can straps. He's got wins on some of the biggest names in the sport, and he's an emotional basket case in the reverse. Some people crumble when things start going to shit. He's a guy that really, if you give him some momentum, he could turn into a nightmare for people, and he's competed on all the big stages. He's been to Worlds, he's been to Arm Wars, he's been on the TV, he's done all of that shit.
Right.
So I think that a step for him in the 95s, given his ability, and about where Ryan Clark sits, I think Ryan Clark would be a good, fair, interesting match.
I do too, because Ryan is, he's a great technician too. He knows how to arm wrestle, and he's exciting, but he is strong too.
Absolutely,
yeah. Strong. I like watching Ryan pull a lot.
Yeah, he's very versatile. I think there's certain areas that John has him trumped, and I think there's a few areas that Ryan has him trumped. So it comes down to a game of who can be where. Where is the experience going to shine, and who's going to dictate their position. I think Todd is too much for everyone in the 95s right now, except until proven otherwise, me. And the next tier down, I mean, a guy like Craig Toulier might be interesting for John. John's hand's going to be a nightmare for Toulier. Who knows where the power falls when it stops. Storm. I think anyone else at 95, with the exception of, maybe me and Todd Hutchings. I got a history with John, and Todd Hutchings is, at a different level than the rest of those guys we're talking about, really.
Yeah.
Until proven otherwise, really. Until proven otherwise. There's a lot of guys out there that could be like, well, fuck you. I think, Storm Cholino might be out there saying, I can beat that motherfucker. But until you do something with them, you can't really say that. You've got experience with them. So until somebody beats them, what can you say?
Yeah, everything's speculation until there's a result, right? Everything's speculation until there's a result.
We were just talking about you, John, when you disappeared for a minute there, which I did earlier. So welcome to the Cool Kid Club. What we were thinking about was oh, damn it, man. Now I can't ask him. All right, well, let's move. Well,
he's denying the truth.
What is denying the truth? The truth has cut his internet connection, people.
That's
Sam
right.
Harris was just chiming in here. He said that Storm and Cervantes pulled at Nationals last year, and
That's
that
correct. Yeah, they did. They
yeah.
did. Storm actually Cervantes, I think took third to Storm and Solaris.
Well,
But
see, that was what I was thinking of. Solaris and Cervantes would be a good match, especially righty.
absolutely, absolutely. So, like, here's the thing: because I get more experience with him and trained with him, I know what he's capable of. So it's easy to overstate a training partner's abilities, or to want to put them at a higher level, or see them with somebody higher than the rest of the people might not. It might not add up to. I know that Storm pulled Solaris at the Nationals, but if memory serves me correctly, Solaris dusted Storm there right-handed.
He did.
He killed him.
He actually
So Sam
really
Harris at the
killed him.
same time will lobby that Storm that wouldn't happen right now, right? So if you're going to lobby that Storm's a different cat now, you got to lobby that maybe other people are different cats now too. So I think the talent level right now for the three of them is very comparable. If all three of them were to pull right now, my odds-on money would be on Storm out of him, Solaris, and John.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be shocked if my second place would be, well, Solaris has a mental case too, so when you give him mental edge, he's a fucking nightmare.
Yep. Definitely.
But John, ability-wise, deserves to be. Fuck, man, what the fuck? John deserves to be. John deserves to be in there with them for sure. I think that's the group he needs to be in. So he's at that like elite level to jump right in at 95 and see where he's at. He's at that level where he can jump in and he belongs at that. Bill Sinks, Mike Solaris, any one of those top tier Chad Silvers. Let's see where he falls. He's at that level to jump in at 95 and throw his name in the hat.
I totally agree. I think that nationally people are not aware of him, and if he does make the 195s, he's going to do some serious damage.
Absolutely, he's a problem. He's a problem for 95 for 99% of that field for sure. As long as he can keep it together, he's got a lot of tools and a lot of power in the right directions. And if mentally he shows up, yeah, he's a problem.
Seth Bai has been making fun of you online this entire night, just so you know, Rob. So,
really?
Checking in every 3 seconds. The last one was lights out, bozo. So.
All right. Cheers.
Yeah. Seth is. I think he's. He's worried about the lighting situation in your basement, like the rest of us. So.
Yeah, well, it's a motion detector, which I don't know why they put in a motion detector down here because it's on the opposite wall of where the motion goes on. So it's kind of like I was happy with technology of just flipping the switch, but hey.
What the hell's that noise?
Not me.
Not me.
Yeah, that'd be me.
Oh.
It seems like you guys are trying to call me on another line. That's like the ghost versions of you calling me on the other line. I'm not.
It's like Quantum Leap. Your future self is trying to call your now self, telling you you're going to die in half an hour.
So, Rob, let's talk about what we were talking about earlier this week offline was the Worlds. I'm going out to Worlds this weekend. I think I'll probably do okay at Masters, but I always have lamented the fact that we don't bring our elite guys in the senior, which the pro class over there is called senior. Like you. And like Storm and Todd and those guys, you being a very vocally natural athlete, there wouldn't be any boundaries between you stepping into the WAF. Next year it's going to be in Budapest. So, do you think you're serious about it? And is that something you really want to try?
Yeah, it's really grown on me. When I first started, WAF really appealed to me, and just because of turns in the road in life, I never got out there. I was supposed to go to Japan with Tim Bresnan back in the day. I think Ron Colombo went to that one too. I was supposed to go out there with them, never made it, and then kind of fell off the World's wagon. And then as I got to competing with higher level guys, and I saw, the time invested and the money invested, I kind of dipped off as the big leagues came around because I figured that, the best guys, the Brzezinks, the Vigeants, the Todd Hutchings, everybody were right here. So if these guys were the guys that were the best in the world, why I need to chase a world championship? And a piece of me kind of got darkened and clouded by that, right? I kind of like shunned off the whole notion of it being a world championship. And then as the sport grew and I'm entering my second, third year in the WAL, it's kind of like the purity of like the world championships, how tight they are with the rules. You know, there is something that you can't argue with the fact that there are, 74 countries going this year?
Yes.
74, so the whole world's pretty much invited, right?
Yeah.
I hear it's everybody who's been there says, like, it's something you have to experience. It's incredible. So, though money's good, though big prizes are good, TV's cool, I'm not a TV whore, but it's all cool. It's all growth of the sport. But lately, I find myself just kind of, thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of digging the idea of what WAF represents, where I've had my gripes about some of the rules, some of the reffing and stuff, and I'm sure I can run into those hiccups there, but I think it's less likely. And, the country vibe and the traveling, and I got a travel bug anyways, so I ran it by the wife, and I talked to her. Josh said that Budapest is next year, and he said it was a, beautiful and interesting place. We looked it up, and it's right around her birthday time, and yeah, I'm right about now as I sit today. Unless something crazy happens, I'm pretty headstrong on trying to hit that next year. Yeah, first time I've ever been.
I think it would be awesome because this year both Zoloev brothers are there. Prudnik is coming, so all the guys that you really want to pull are going to be there, and they consistently come, year in, year out. So that it's a tested event, so they're going to be clean. I mean, it doesn't guarantee people have been clean for the whole year.
Right.
I have no idea how long it takes things to cycle out, but I assume it's obviously it must be a significant enough amount of time that it makes a difference.
Absolutely.
But I mean, you would have a chance to pull those guys, which probably is never going to happen over here. I mean, unless you quit WAL and start the PAL, then maybe. But even that seems like it's really hard to get those guys over here. Period.
Yeah, I'm really craving the experience and just to be part of that, and it's really undeniable on a global level. And I would like to be able to pull those guys and meet those guys and some of the foreign pullers, and I've got massive respect for them. These are people I've been watching since I started. I mean, Zoloev's, I researched all their uncles that pulled Kevin Bongard and Cobra Rhodes back when I was a kid.
Yep.
So, I mean, I know a good amount of their history. I'm a student of arm wrestling. I'm a fan. So, yeah, I'd love to go over there, and I'd love to be able to take a real stab at pulling for a world title. And I know, it's tournament pulling. It's hard, but just to be part of that, and it's become real appealing to me. I've totally had a 180 on how I felt about the Worlds from this time last year. I'm really interested in going.
I'm glad to hear you say that because, in my opinion, I love the WAL, and I think that they're, in the next 5 or 6 years, who knows? But for right now, that's the world title. That's when you have 74 countries going. And that every single person in your class is a national champion of the country they came from. That's fucking badass, man.
Well, you gotta look at it like this. This is where we're so close-minded. It's like sports, right? In our world, we think football's the biggest sport in the world because Super Bowl and all that shit. But in our little country, once you get off it, nobody gives a fuck about football. Football everywhere else in the world is soccer.
Right.
So in the world of arm wrestling, we might not send our best, so we refute it as not being the true world championship. But these are things that I realized recently. But every other country is sending their baddest motherfuckers. Like, please don't tell me there's somebody out there lurking worse than, in their weight class, worse than Zoloev. Mm-hmm. He's the best motherfucker going, right? Prudnik has been a bad dude. I've seen Pushkar at Worlds. I've seen, you won't see Saiplenkov at Worlds, and you won't see choice guys. Like, you probably will never see Dmitry Trubin at Worlds for whatever reason.
Not anymore.
But
yeah,
he did go when he was smaller, but he has
180 pounds. But you're not going to see the 250-pound version of him. But for the most part, the best guys from Finland, the best guys from Japan, the best guys from Republic of Georgia, Sweden, they're all gonna be there. We might not send our best guys, but out of the 74 countries, that's only one. The other 73 are sending their hardest dudes. So still winning that title it's still pretty prestigious in my book. So yeah, I'm looking towards it. I'm geared. I'm hoping that everything goes easy breezy. That's a priority.
Yeah,
I hope you go. I think it'll be unbelievable.
Yeah, and one thing that kind of really impressed me was something that I wasn't completely aware of is when we had Leonard on the show, and he explained the process of going through rule changes and everything, like how there's a real steady system for getting all that stuff done. It's not just, they don't just do it quick because like of pressure or anything. They really,
which I like that because it eliminates some of the bias, eliminates some of the confusion.
Yeah,
there are people that just show up at some of these events and they're in the middle of a match and they don't even know what the fuck the rules are. Like some of these people, and then once they get the rule down, the very next match they refute those rules and they play by a different set of rules for the next match.
Right.
Like it seems to be consistent. It seems to be if you want to know if you can arm wrestle, go there.
Yeah.
Because at least if you can follow the rules and keep your elbow on the pad, you're going to get matches.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to get plenty of them.
Yeah, I think there's a big issue with when the pressure from rule changes come from athletes. I think that's hard because I don't think there's a way for any athlete to introduce a new rule or a change in a rule without it being somewhat biased to them. It's the same thing with like drug testing. When a company drug tests their own people instead of hiring a third party, dude, if you're going to lose a big contract because so-and-so got popped, you're biased to not let that happen, right? So it's like the UFC having the Nevada State, admission.
Well, it's like when people propose weight classes, pay attention to what weight classes they propose when they put it out there. Because the guy who's 83 pounds and he walks around and he's like, 180 pound class, and then it should be it should be 205. Like they're always proposing a class that's perfect for them.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's you gotta gotta pay attention to where it's coming from. But the process and the rules and just the ambiance I hear just from all the teams and the atmosphere I hear is something you got to experience. So
I agree.
Hey, we'll see. Josh will probably post 1,000 pictures, and we'll get to see it.
Yeah. They run 8 tables at once. That tells you something. There's 1,300 competitors so far, and they think they're going to get another 200.
That's competitors. That's madness.
I know.
Yeah.
I know exactly. And so you can imagine how many of them are pulling left and right, etc. It's just by far the biggest tournament in the world.
Absolutely.
So because we're talking about it, we have questions coming up, and this is one that I have. My answer is Oleg, but everybody's been talking about this online. Who's going to win the 85 kilogram class, Oleg Zok or Sasho? What do you guys think?
What, left-handed?
Yeah, lefty.
Yeah.
Hey, we got John back. What's up, man? Sorry, I was trying over and over again. I couldn't get you back on for some reason.
Let's be honest. I'll be 100% honest. I don't know enough about Sasho, and I'm not going to go buy practice videos or anything, but I can't see anybody in the realm of his weight class. And that's terrible because I'm the anti-telling people that something can't be done, because I've always lived by the mindset that just because you haven't done it or somebody hasn't done it doesn't mean it can't be done.
Sure.
But I'm hard-pressed until it's done. We'll just say it like that. Right now, there could be someone out there that could smash the fuck out of Oleg. But as impressive as he's been, I'd be an idiot to call him anything other than a favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's a favorite.
He's
a favorite. He's a favorite with everybody in this game to me, except Travis, Pushkar, and Dennis. Everyone else, he's a favorite to me.
Well, his last big tournament that he won, I think it was Euro Arms. I can't remember what I read, but apparently he had several very long matches with people around his own weight, which has never happened before. And he did end up beating people, but he was in like a couple 3-minute matches during that tournament, again with people his own weight. So I don't know if he's changed up or if it was that particular tournament or what. And so that's why.
Well, here's the
what kind of shape is he in?
Yeah.
Well, you got to look at it like this too, right? He has a very one-dimensional style because of how he's built. So when you look at him, right, this part of his forearm, that brachioradialis, stands out about 2 inches like a fucking sailboat sail.
It's a bat wing.
Bigger,
got a wing on him.
Bigger than anything I've ever seen.
Right.
So he epitomizes freak. That's all that hammer curl, all that backwards. But as soon as you get that guy, if somebody was able to attack and get him palmed up, that radialis shuts down, which is what turned me into a good hooker left-handed. When I hurt that muscle, I had a lot of back pressure, and when I hurt that muscle, I turned into a hooker, and I realized I didn't even have to use that muscle at all, because when you turn your wrist this way, it's gone. So if somebody's smart enough to take him away from that freaky, weird, genetic, non-genetic, scientific Professor X mutated shit, maybe he is getting into matches. I've never seen it, but I mean, these people know better than me. These people are living it. So if somebody's really committed to getting that hook in, a la how Devin did it at UAL, maybe they're doing it a little bit quicker, maybe in a better position, he could be getting a position. I don't know. I'm not enough of a student of the European game. I know the big names. I don't know. I don't get to watch all the European videos and stuff, though. So maybe Sasha's in it.
Yeah, one of the last guys I saw do it.
Philippe is saying he lost to Nemirov last year in his class, and he got the guy who beat him pressed him, but he can't remember who it was. It was somebody from Kazakhstan.
Wow.
Yeah, the guy who I always, whenever I saw a video of anybody doing that, what you just said, Rob, was always Alexei Samarenko, where he would just go straight towards the peg, no.
Right, just chop and push at it.
Yeah, like we wanted to talk about before, like just strong, ugly, but devastating. Just you want to rotate, fine, just go straight. Just take all of it away. And yeah,
seems like you got to attack the bicep. I mean, his bicep is very normal size compared to the.
Yeah, his forearm stands out bigger than anybody's you've ever seen, because supposedly he's got an extra tendon in there from an extra finger. Yeah. Some weird things, but it's definitely he epitomizes the freaky status of like a forearm, So if somebody's taking him out of that lane, it's possible.
Yeah,
I guess. I mean, I still think he's a favorite, but I don't fucking know. Who am I to talk?
You'd have to be. If you're talking about favorites, you have to. Yeah, he's the favorite, but hey. You're not going to say don't do it. He's the favorite.
Yeah, good for you, man. If you beat him, I mean, I'm going to be over here in my basement with my motion detector off going, slow clap. Like, fuck yeah, man.
Lights on and off.
Fuck yeah. I'll have the strobes going for you like this. Hey, buddy. Good for you.
What do you think about going to WAF, Cervantes? Is that something you'd be interested in?
I'll let him answer this. I got to piss.
Go piss.
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought about it.
Yeah.
Because I kind of know my style would kind of adapt to what's going on in, the world. Everybody else, the Europeans, they like to go into a hook. I'm not just a hooker. I like the top roll too, but I think my style would adapt really well. So yeah, no, it's something I've always thought about. I can never count it out, but it's the expenses to travel and get out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
it's tough. It's expensive,
and it's like the time off from work.
Yeah. I mean, I think to a certain extent, a lot of people I've talked to said they're waiting for it to come back to Canada or Mexico or back in the United States or what have you. Because it's free and expensive and time consuming going to Bulgaria or Budapest, where it's going to be next year. But when you were off, John, I was saying that, I'm going to Worlds, and I hope I'm going to do okay in the Masters classes, but it makes me feel disappointed that, like, the best guys we have at my weight and other weights, like you and Rob, for example, don't go to Worlds, because I think that we're seen overseas, being pretty good in the Masters classes and Grandmasters, but in terms of the senior, which is what they call the pro division, our best people generally don't go. Now, Simon has won. I think he won last year, so he's an exception. But a lot of our guys, we're not sending. Yep, that's true. There's been a couple, but I would like to, so I'm sorry if I'm omitting somebody because my memory is bad. I'm 45. But anyway, I think more of our best guys should go, and it'd be awesome to see people like you and RVJ go over.
Oh, Lord. Did we get into any gritty topics yet, or what?
We were just.
We were just talking about you.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Exactly what you want to hear, right?
Yeah, no, I don't give a fuck.
The light didn't go off. That's good.
Long as you can admit it. I mean, most people talk shit, but they never admit it. They try to shake my hand afterwards.
We don't talk any real shit about you, Rob. We love you.
Yeah, that's all right. Where's the grid at? Like, what's up? You said you got 1,000 questions. Let's bang them out.
Yeah, well, we were just talking to John about his idea his opinion about WAF and whether he wanted to go. And he basically said the same thing as you, that it's a lot of money, it's a lot of commitment to go out there. So, it has to be something special. But
how's this? You want to know how WAF could get every motherfucker going? Rent out, go to either, Aruba or some shit, or, get a Royal Caribbean cruise line and make it like an arm wrestling week. Boom! Done. Even if you suck, you're going to be going to the Worlds. Because you got a week long and you can go play shuffleboard and catch a tan. Fuck yeah, man, I'm in. But I don't want to be stuck in, some Sub-Zero joint after I got butt hurt because I went 2-0.
Siberia.
No fucking way. No way. Fuck that. I want to sock on the beach.
Can you imagine having to cut weight when you're on a cruise ship and there's nothing but huge buffets everywhere you go?
In water.
Hey, man, what's the weight at Worlds? 205, 209? What's Worlds?
198, and then 220 is the next one up. So maybe you'd have to set up for 220.
Yeah, I do one or the other. 198's easy for me, man. I'm 205 at night.
So, John, Cervantes, let me ask you this question. A lot of people are still asking about the straps. What did you think about the new straps? I don't know if you got a chance to pull on them at the Boston City Championships, but I know you got to at least see them.
I didn't, but I do train that style of wrap.
Mm-hmm.
It's not quite as thick. I've trained with a traditional strap.
Yep.
But it seems to be more effective for an inside puller.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it a little more fair. It takes away a little bit more, a lot of guys will wrap the strap around here and they're backing up and posting on dudes, and it's it seems like it takes away the fairness of it.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as starting in the center of the table, it's a little more fair for the guy that's going inside. That's kind of my take on it.
Yeah. Well, we're going to use it at New England's too, and I'm hoping that, doing it at a couple bigger tournaments, more people will try it out, and eventually we can get rid of that bullshit strap that we've been using for the last 20 years.
Well, what it does is it collects real-life data and real-life video / testimonial proof that people aren't slipping out of it.
Mm-hmm.
People aren't, they're not going anywhere. It's if anything, the ease of setup and the setup time alone cuts tournament time down. You could cut every tournament, 90% of matches go to straps. If you can cut that shit down, you can cut a 6-hour tournament into a 4-hour tournament just from strap setup alone. So beyond the fairness, just for ease of setup and application, and then when you don't have guys flipping coins for buckle side, because really there is no better side on that strap. It's just you're just tied together. It ties you at the palms. I love it. I love it. I've been an advocate for it since I saw Ryan Bowen do it on his videos, which is a few years back.
I'll tell you, I love the regular strap. Love it. I'm good in the strap, but I'm all for trying this new one. Because you're right, you have to get real life data. You have to use it in a real situation in order to really debunk it
you can't just sit there and say it's awesome. You can't say it's awesome. You got to try it out.
You got to try
and he did it in Boston, and they didn't have a hiccup. They had press matches, flop matches, finger fucking matches.
Ooh.
There was nobody came. Yeah, it was a frisky ass tournament, man. This is in Boston.
Yeah.
You gotta bring your latex. Trust me. So there was nothing. There was no real hiccups to it. So the thing is that I like about it is it makes it more like an arm wrestling match. It like a match out of the straps, and that's not because I have a big hand, a small hand, a long arm. It's just more pure. There are guys that out of the straps, everything on them breaks and fails. But then you anchor a strap somewhere around down here, and they're pulling from a lat, and it just becomes an anchor point for them. And then how to just kind of sit on that lat and kind of turn their body. Where the way the straps bind, you're pulling from it's a mechanical. The straps come into play that mechanically binds you. No different than you couldn't pick up 250 pounds in your hand without a strap, but you put a strap on your hand and you can pick up 400 pounds in your hand, no problem. Mm-hmm. It gives you abilities that you could never, ever, ever do without that mechanical advantage.
That's actually a great point. I mean, that's why they have the raw bench record and then the bench record, because you.
What is it? What is it? 500 pounds difference?
Yeah.
With a shirt on.
Right. That's got springs and hydraulics in it. The name of the game is.
I mean, I really do. I'm kind of to the point now where it's like, any ref, any rules. I mean, I want to be that much stronger than the guy to get where I need to be.
Right.
Cut the bullshit out of it. Mm-hmm. The straps aren't fair. I mean, it showed it big time in UAL, and was it Toronto, Rob?
Everybody on the buckle side won. Everybody on the buckle side won.
I mean,
the non-buckle side.
John Brzenk, usually, I mean, if I had to put $10,000 on him over Matt Mask, he should be able to roll him out. Not Matt's, he is the dude, but John usually is the man.
Yeah.
And it was like when he got the buckle side, John just was helpless.
Mm.
That kind of, for me, solidified it, but I just...
you see the flip-flops. You see the flip-flop. You see guys go from handling someone in a very comfortable way, and as an arm wrestler, you know how big the gap has to be to really handle someone, to really just kind of sit there with them like comfortably. Like we call it posing, right? You're just sitting there like kind of chilling. Like there's a gap there. Now, to make up the range where that person, the next match, can do the same thing to you, the same person that just posed with them, they can now pose with you. That's such a fucking flip-flop of what is going on here. It wasn't like you guys kind of grounded out and pulled for 2 minutes and pinned somebody. Right. Somebody goes like this, poses, and whacks them, and then 30 seconds later, you switch sides of the table, and somebody else goes, gets their little spot in, their strap cinches, however the fuck it works, with their whatever mechanical aid it is, and now they're sitting there smiling with the same dude they couldn't do dicky lick with. Mm-hmm. Are you kidding me? You got that's so fucking flawed. When I get a hold of somebody, I want to get a hold of them. I want to grab their hand. I want to feel all of them. I want to feel their goddamn wrist. I want to feel their fingers. I want to feel their forearm. I want to feel shoulders. I want to feel somebody that's got all kinds of weaknesses, that ties around here, and they just anchor down their lat, and they know how to sit and cinch in a way that negates all that. Because now you're not feeling that person anymore. It's you need a piece of equipment to be like a buffer for you guys.
Yeah,
you should be able to just pull.
Yeah, we had that conversation on Facebook, me and you did, Rob, and you know, like I said, I like the straps, but I said to you, I can't ignore the fact that if you have to bring in another piece of equipment, then maybe it's not as pure.
Like I said, it's hand-to-hand combat. It's hand-to-hand combat, right?
Right.
Imagine if you're fucking the guy at the gym comes up to you and says, "Hey man, want to arm wrestle?" I mean, are you going to be stressing out about if you got your straps in your pocket? You should just be able to grab them. I asked every arm wrestler just for shits, just to prove a point. I says, "How long you been arm wrestling?" "Well, what do you mean?" "Like, well, when did you start arm wrestling?" "First time you arm wrestled." "Oh, well, my grandpappy did it. I did it as a kid. I did it my whole life." I says, "How many times before you were a high-level professional arm wrestler and understood straps, how many times in your life did you go to straps?" "Never." So you probably arm wrestled 10,000 times and never went to the straps once. Only once when you learned the advantages of them did you start doing all fucking run away. Fuck. It should be just, and from a viewer standpoint, I've had every person, like fuck me in my small world in my opinion, but from a viewer standpoint, every person that I talk to, every person, "Wow, I like it. It's cool. That's awesome. How long you been doing that? Blah, blah, blah." Hey, how come you put those straps on? I don't understand. You guys are like strong guys. You can't hold on to each other. Why'd that guy let go? Oh, like a goddamn broken record. You ever see Groundhog Day?
Yeah.
Like Sonny and Cher come on and they're like, "I got you, babe," every fucking morning. That's what it's like. I could feel it coming. They're like, "I like it," but I'm going, "Here it comes. Here it comes." "Oh, the straps. How come they let that guy lets go?" "Oh, fuck it. I just smashed
always
my
getting
phone."
fired up.
Yep. "How come that guy let go?" I says, "I wish I knew. I wish I knew."
That is what it is. No matter what anybody says, you almost never legitimately slip. It's almost always somebody letting go.
98% of them are intentional.
Somebody feels their position's compromised, they bail.
Yeah. And it just drives
I talked
me
to my
nuts.
training partner about these straps, Rob.
Who's your training partner, John?
Howgate.
Oh, weird.
He doesn't support the
Sorry, Kurt.
Look, this strap sucks. We were just training with it a little bit, and he was like, "No, leave it alone." Everybody, there's a lot of good players that have built their career on it.
Yeah.
In a way, I kind of can see his point because it's like UFC.
Those two.
Back in the day, it's like, remember Royce Gracie?
Yeah.
They used to use like the gi choke.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, and then they got out of that. It's like you can't wear a gi anymore. But it's kind of like those guys built their career on that. He was beating guys that were, 200 pounds heavier than he was?
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he used to say that two things about it. One, he could choke the hell out of people, and two, that when you wear a gi, people tend to grab it instead of punching you. And because he was so little, if they punched him, they would have crushed him. So instead, they're grabbing his gi. I don't even know why they're grabbing it, but they were grabbing it. Meanwhile, he's choking their head off with it.
Yeah, and he used to be able to saw up in there. Yep. Again, mechanical advantage, right? I went to go train with a guy who trained with the Gracies that was a Pan American champion. And his neck was like a frog neck because he was so conditioned to be like this, right? He was so conditioned. His name was Milton. And he went to train like this. So for me to get my forearm or wrist under there, which is fairly thick, if you were going to try to choke him, is a near impossible task. Nigh impossible. He's conditioned for that. But a gi that you could turn into, let's say, something like that, you can saw it up there like a piano wire, like a fucking assassin. All of a sudden you're choking out a guy that's really, in terms of jiu-jitsu, nigh unchokeable, right? So it's no different in the straps, right? It's a mechanical, it's a tool that you're bringing in that doesn't belong. And I've already ranted about this. I've already talked about this shit. But I love your new straps. I love them. I love that you're using them. And if my fucking arm broke off tomorrow, I'd show up at that event and pull it just because you got those goddamn straps.
So
I'm excited to try them because I've never tried them, and it'll be fun.
If you've actually got a hand, a wrist, a front riser, a wrist, things that you need for arm wrestling that we train, that they got all these implements that nobody wants to use. We got all these implements. Everyone goes, we, riser, and then they all bail away. If you actually have that strength, you'll love the fucking strap. You'll love it because it's actually you arm wrestling. It's not. I see it. What are you feeding that thing? Steroid soup, right? Remember?
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know Campbell's made steroid soup.
It's the hormones in the chicken, Rob.
That's what it is. I see kids now, they're like 6'5", they're 13. I'm like, fuck, man, you're giving me a complex.
Ryan Bowen, he mentioned earlier, just chimed in saying that he feels that there are some, I'm interpreting what he said a little bit, but pulling someone like Nicholas Nanestad, it is hard to hold on to a longer arm. And I agree, it is harder to hold on to, but even in, people like you were saying, when you get into finger wars, they don't typically let go. I mean, you really can hold on. What basically happens is we get tired and eventually somebody does slip. But those types of matches are so rare anyway.
Well, you have to think of it like this. If you're trying to hold on to somebody, you're grabbing somebody like Nicholas Nanestad. There are still two facets of somebody letting go. So if I grab Nicholas Nanestad, I'm going to try to flat finger and hold him down. I'm going to try to hold him down. Now, if my hand gets compromised, that's when all of a sudden I turn my hand away to protect my hand, right? Now, if I hold him down and he can't rise and he feels that he's going to get sucked down, he's going to take his own wrist and do one of these. So at some point in time, someone did denying the grip. They're going to be peeling their own hand off because they didn't get to where they wanted to be. So if I'm really committed to that goddamn grip and I'm holding him down, if he starts buckling my fingers out like this, instead of riding it to the pin, people pull their hand away. They turn it and pull it this way. Yeah. And if he goes to rise up, his wrist is either going to fail this way or he's going to feel the stress that he can't go and he's backing away from his arm and he's going to turn away. But somebody eventually is going to be the one to break and turn away from that situation. Inevitably, unless they ride it right to the pin, which is usually happens in the amateurs. They ride that shit right to the pin flat-handed.
Right.
Then the higher level, they can feel that coming and they protect it by bailing. But it goes from flat-handed like this to this real quick. Mm-hmm. Pay attention. He who bails first denied the grip.
Yeah, and the real blame
grabbing a little bit lower.
Just grab the motherfucker and use your hand. Just do it. God gave you a hand. He didn't give you a strap to pull out of your asshole like toilet paper. Just use your fucking hand.
No, we're talking about Nanestad getting up with this big hammer pressure.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you pull them? We were talking while you were out there trying to play with your technology in Maine. We will figure out who's a good 95 match for you. There's your boy. Grab him low. Do it.
Yeah. You know what I mean, though?
Yeah.
Jump in, drop him.
Just throw him in a hook.
Did you get to pull Monistat? I don't remember, Rob. We didn't see a video of it, but you didn't get to pull him?
No.
That would have been an interesting match.
No, we were on different ends of the brackets. I got to pull Todd 15 times through the whole series, and everyone else was pulling triple axles and skating around and, having a good old time with finger fucking each other. Me and Todd were smacking heads all for the whole series. Sucked.
Drinking Long Island iced teas.
Should have.
Yeah, the real blame on all this letting go shit is back pressure, if you think about it.
Hey.
Yeah, people put too much emphasis on back pressure, right? Back pressure is kind of like, I like to tell, like, what I do with Oren is, like, it's like back holding power so you don't get dragged out, so then you can implement from where you go from there. But people take back pressure to the extreme. They drag like as if it's tug of war, and they want to be at the table behind them. They want to just keep dragging. You can't really pin somebody with only back pressure. And you can't. You shouldn't use back pressure that your hand and wrist can't support either.
That's the problem. Is that most people's back pressure is stronger than their hand.
Right. At least you see people doing massive weights. They hook it around here, and they're doing these massive weights. Then they get a hold of a hand, and they go
almost like where the strap goes.
They help you.
Weird, right? Here's me, right, in the B side, crying about it. Maybe they were onto something. I got no hammers.
Wow.
The fuck do I know?
People asking, do you guys pull? And yes, they do pull. These guys have pulled 1,000,000 times, and if you lived up here in the Northeast, you would have seen it at least once. It's always fun. Yeah, we can't get them to arm wrestle right now because they're not in the same house, though.
Yeah, we're on Skype, but we're not in the same place, guys. I know it's confusing.
This isn't differently decored walls and ceilings. This is separate houses.
Yeah. So what else, guys? We've had you on for a while yet. I don't know if there's other subjects we didn't touch on.
Pimp out New England's, man. New England's is going to be sick.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll be there.
I agree. New England.
You're coming for that?
Yeah.
Who you bringing in tow? You bringing Drellick?
Left and right there. I tried to get Drellick. I tried to. I couldn't.
Drellick's not coming? None of your crew's coming?
No. I wanted to see if Drellick and Dan Hall would pull.
Where you pulling? 76?
Yep.
Hey, guess who's making 76?
I heard already.
Oh, I'm excited to see him. But you know what? That's good because you're a better technician than all those guys. But I'm excited to see him pull on the big stage with some. His quality is upper tier 95. Him at 76 would be very, very interesting because
I 100% agree.
He came here and trained. He came here and trained Monday. We trained for the first time in a little bit, and he's about 180 right now, and he's still got some torque, man. He's still there. He's all there.
Orrin Hubbard is a bad man. We've pulled a lot. We've pulled quite a bit over the years. We've actually pulled more left-handed, and we're damn near 50% record. So,
is that right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
He's a bad man. I really like Orrin.
His right's weird, but I'm excited to see him pull. I'm excited to see you come down and pull. I'm glad you're coming back out, New England.
Yeah.
And I think that location and that tournament is going to be amazing. I hope we get a Canadian representation.
Yeah, we got Canadians coming down already. I think in terms of those two events that are going on, one of them is very super match heavy. That's Peters on the 19th, and then we're basically just doing your straight up money tournament. The medals are going to be amazing. Everybody's going to get a...
but you know what you're getting? You're getting the fresh everybody. You're getting... Like, I'm going to roll in there, and I'm just deciding on where I'm going to be, because I'm a little bit scared. I got talked into pulling that goddamn Seth Barnett match, and I said I wasn't going to pull my left hand for, till the next big event, but I'm going to try to skate in and see if I can do something at your event and test it. But my left's been a little bit punky for about a year, but... yeah, man, your event, I had good success with last year, and I'm hoping that I can either match it or pass it. Hoping I could come in there and be a weirdo.
And there's money in that class? There's money in those classes, Josh?
Oh, yeah.
How much?
This is the top three are all getting paid, so it's $200 if you win, and it goes down from there. But you're also going to get great medals, and everybody who enters gets a New England arm wrestling coin, similar to the one people got at Boston. So, we all decided, the 6 states decided to put the emphasis on the tournament and not to do any super matches. So I think that distinguishes the two So the two events that are happening a few weeks apart, they'll have definitely
Now,
different feel.
you're running amateur there.
Yep, amateur. We're doing kids, we're doing amateur, we're doing women.
Kids, what are the ages? Can I ask you?
The kids are going to be done by weight, not by age.
Really?
So, yes, because that's fair. It's more fair if you
Yeah,
think about
you know
it.
what? I love that because you know what? They have some mutant kids that are like 6 years old that are like 180 pounds. They have some weird kids out there.
Yeah,
I've been to
what we're doing,
Vermont
right.
championships where they have crazy big kids.
Right.
That's
So
amazing.
that'll be by weight. It'll be by weight for the kids, and the kids are getting the same medal as the adults, but they only have to pay $5 to get in. So,
Oh man, I might have to bring my daughter to that. She's been dying to pull, and I don't want to put her in with kids because sometimes you fall in that they do like 5 to 7, and if you got kids, like a year in a kid is like 10 years for an adult.
Totally.
It goes like all of a sudden they're a different age bracket and they're 8 inches taller and 80 pounds heavier. So I want to bring my daughter to that, but my brother-in-law is super excited to come out. He's you know Jason. He wants to come pull the amateurs. He was a little bit discouraged about the WAL amateurs. The amateurs at WAL, don't get me started about that shit because they look better than the fucking pros. The amateurs at the WAL were like straight up, all of them were like national level pullers. Everyone, the fifth place guy was like won his state championship 10 times.
That's too bad.
So he went 2-0 there, but the guy who beat him won the tournament. And then another guy, I was like, So he's excited to come out and, pull at your tournament. So that's good. It's going to be a good one. We're pumped about it. We're probably going to stay at the hotel next door.
yeah.
What's that, John?
What are the weight classes?
There's standard ones, so it's 76, 98, 220, 242, and up.
I've been working on getting to 76.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Been a little too light for that class, I think, lately.
We got
What are
people
you, a 65er?
Yeah. I was like a
Oh, so you're trying to...
I was like a 168er, walking around. So if I can get up to if I can, wait a couple hours and weigh in at 76, so I'm 178 or whatever, and it's actually worthwhile, actual like muscle.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's good. You're
I've always
actually on
been
the
light.
light side.
Well, that's why
Good.
That's why I like the idea of like 2-hour weigh-ins or whatever for WAL because I'll pull 65s and be fine the same day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're mint. Yeah, that's awesome.
I'll try to get Kurt out there.
Yeah, Kurt did well last year, so.
Yeah. He's feeling pretty stupid lately.
How's his right? Is his right coming along?
Yeah, I mean his right. He's had some inflammation in his elbow, but his left feeling pretty stupid.
Yeah, his left is ridiculous. Totally agree. Well, all right, gentlemen. I don't know if we missed anything, but this has been a blast. We kept you on here an hour and a half, so hopefully we didn't ruin your night, anybody. But this is a blast.
No, it's good to bullshit and vent to people who want to hear it. Usually, my wife gets this for about an hour and a half. I'm like, you believe this shit?
She's like, she's like, shut up, Rob.
No, she's got that good. She can like glaze over pretty good, like, and she just kind of like goes on autopilot, like yes, and nods. We go on a good long ride to an event, and I'll be yapping in her ear, and then somewhere along the line, like 3 hours deep, I realize she hasn't said a word, and she just yaps every fucking thing I say.
It's like
at least you guys kind of give me a rebuttal. At least you guys kind of give me some feedback.
Yeah, it's like the hypnotized version of Fred Flintstone. He's like, do. Just the spin pinwheels. Yeah.
Yeah, like she don't arm wrestle. She don't know how the obsession is and the weirdness that can come with it. So,
oh my God, yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about real situations, I mean, we got some of it knocked out. We went over the rankings a little bit, at least my take on it. Went over all the other bullshit. I mean, I think it's good. We've got some good tournaments coming up.
Yeah, man.
And that's what's on the docket, man. Thanks for having me on.
Dude, it was great. It was great having both you guys on. Thanks for helping us out.
Yeah, maybe next time my service be a little better.
Yeah, come on, dude.
We'll do it again. We'll do it again for sure.
With your arm wrestling salary, you should be able to afford a bigger antenna, buddy. All right, man. All right, I'll check you guys later.
Adios.
Peace.
All right, guys, later.
Good night.